authority of command. The change of charge of a naval ship is nearly unique in the world today. It is a total transfer of responsibility, authority, and accountability from one individual to another. We'd like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests with us here today. Our keynote speaker and presiding officer for today's ceremony, Director of Naval History and Heritage Command, Rear Admiral Samuel Cox. Commodore Dave Brogan, Commander of Naval Submarine Support Facility, New London, the Historic Ship Nautilus Alumni Association, and Submarine Force Library and Museum Association. Major commanders, commanding officers, command master chiefs, and chiefs of the boat. And a very special welcome to the Chapman and Lucas families who have traveled from near and far to be here with us today. We are honored by your presence. Guests, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing until completion of the occasion. Nautilus, attention. Bosun, post the side boys. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Nautilus, arriving. Naval Submarine Support Facility, arriving. Rear Admiral, United States Navy, arriving. Retire the side boys. Parade the colors. And salute.
Color.
Pastor Kevin Wilson of Living Word Fellowship will offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather today with grateful hearts to mark this significant moment in the change of command for the historic ship Nautilus and the Submarine Force Library and Museum. We seek your guidance and blessing as we honor the leadership of outgoing Commander Bryan Chapman and welcome incoming Lieutenant Commander Brian Lucas. We thank you for Commander Chapman's steadfast service, dedication, and leadership. His commitment to preserving the legacy of the Nautilus and the history of our submarine force has inspired us all. May you continue to guide and bless him in his future endeavors. We ask for your wisdom and strength for Lieutenant Commander Lucas as he assumes this vital role. Grant him clarity of vision, courage in decision-making, and compassion in leadership as he upholds the proud traditions of this command and leads with integrity. Bless the crew, staff, and all who serve and visit this historic ship and museum. May their work continue to honor the sacrifices and achievements of those who have served before us. Unite us in purpose, strengthen us in service, and guide us in preserving the heritage entrusted to us. We place this ceremony and all who are touched by it into your hands, trusting in your providence and grace. Amen.
Guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today's ceremony, Commodore Dave Groton. Captain Grogan, a native of Cincinnati, Ohio, is Commodore of Naval Submarine Support Facility. He previously commanded Subron 21 in Bahrain and USS Indiana. He proudly served on USS City of Corpus Christi, USS Virginia, USS Missouri, and USS Indiana while completing 7 deployments worldwide. Please help me welcome Commodore Dave Grogan.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank everybody for attending the change of charge ceremony for historic ship Nautilus. It's actually a beautiful Groton day for once, so that's historic in its own right. It's certainly a pleasure to be part of the ceremony where we get the opportunity to honor Commander Chapman and welcome Commander Lucas. It's great to see all the family members that are present, the opportunity to meet some of you a little bit earlier. Every Navy officer knows that our success is founded on the support that we get from our families. So thank you to all of you for the support that you've provided in the past and the support that you'll provide in the future to these two fine gentlemen. So Nautilus, I'll try to be brief in my comments because I don't want to step on Admiral Cox's toes for his speech. So I'll stick to a couple more technical things about Nautilus from Brian's talk. Nautilus, by its very nature, demands and deserves a leader who is aggressive, forward-leaning, imaginative in what he's doing. Brian has done well to honor that legacy while he's been in charge. And he's also carved his own unique path. Brian took charge not long after the ship came out of its dry docking period, so he's responsible for getting the ship back open for public tours. While that's an important thing, Brian has been committed his entire time from that first moment, just improving the ship, the staff, the operations of the museum. So during his tenure, his intrusive leadership and example was critical to improving the team's performance on TICOM and naval reactors inspections. And while we always are pretty happy with doing well on inspections, that's not really the important thing that Bryan was driving. He's driving a change in the culture of the team. They became significantly better at material issue tracking and resolution, and really making it clear to those of us who support the ship and the museum, making it clear to us what we can do to help, so that we can bring our staff and our resources to bear to keep this place going. He was also pretty good at identifying some things. I am responsible for all the maintenance of the submarines on base. Added benefit, I get to be responsible for maintenance of Nautilus. But I'm very limited in what I'm allowed to do, except when Bryan comes up with great ideas that I can use as training for my guys instead of just flat out work. So I've been able to bring a lot of machinists over to build their skills working on some specific projects for Bryan, and he's been digging in and finding those things for us to do. So I make better machinists and sailors over on the waterfront to take warships out to sea. So thank you for that, Bryan. Probably the biggest thing, the pinnacle issue that Bryan had to deal with during his time in charge, there was a little issue with the ventilation system. If you've known Bryan for a while, he'd be pretty calm and understated. Not all the time, but I served with him in sub school and in this capacity, and he can be pretty understated about things. So one day he reaches out just to give me a little bit of information. Hey sir, we're having a little problem with the ventilation system on the ship. It's blowing rust into the control room. We're going to get that stopped, and we're going to clean it up and figure it out. Yeah, okay, that sounds like a good plan. Zero indication of how much work he had already done when he had found that out, and all of the work to come. Just the nice, calm, understated, he's got this little issue to fix. Ultimately, he had to make the very hard choice to close the ship to public access, for the safety of visitors, but also to make sure that we could control the material condition of the ship while we solved the problem. And Bryan was the leader who got Naval History and Heritage Command together, NSSF, base personnel, naval reactors, brought a whole huge team of people together to bear on the problem and get the temporary solution that you see at the end of the pier in place so that we could get the museum back open again. But he's also, it was just amazing to watch. Each time I would come over to his office and talk about it, he'd pull out a 60-year-old tech manual where they're crunching numbers and figuring out exactly what we needed for ventilation for it. But he's been the driving force of what will be the permanent solution. So we should be getting started pretty shortly. Just a huge job, to make sure that we have this ship available. So, Bryan, congratulations on a great tour. Thank you for being the committed caretaker of our submarine history, our Navy history, and quite frankly, our national history with the historic ship Nautilus. Best wishes to you, Public Submarine. Lieutenant Commander, welcome to one of the most unique leadership tours that there is tonight. You are going to deal with issues that you never could have imagined in any other tour. I think Commander Chapman has probably given you plenty of vision of the oddities that you will have a team in Groton who's here to help. So we are ready, willing, and able to take care of anything that we need. And of course, beyond just the major commanders and other commanders on the base, we're going to support you. You have that small group of Captain Kirk, you and I, the 1120s in the area who also have observer wings. And I think we create the largest co-located group of that cluster of people outside of Omaha. So you've always got the two of us no matter what. Congratulations on this support cycle, and we're always here.
Thank you, Commodore. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding officer and keynote speaker, retired Rear Admiral Samuel Cox. Rear Admiral Cox serves as the Director of Naval History and Heritage Command and Curator of the Navy. He is responsible for the Navy's museums, art and artifact collections, the research library, 150 million pages of archives, and for the collecting and interpreting U.S. naval history throughout the world. Please help me welcome Rear Admiral Cox.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for taking time out to be here today on what is actually a pretty glorious day. I am also going to start by thanking the families of Commander Chapman and Lieutenant Commander Lucas. Being a Navy family is hard under any circumstances, but I would characterize that of the submarine force families to be probably the hardest of all, due to the nature of the operations. Sometimes short notice deployments, long working hours. There is no such thing as an easy tour within the submarine force, whether you're at sea or ashore. So I deeply appreciate what the families have done. Your contribution to the defense of the United States matters. Submarine duty is inherently dangerous. I mean, the whole idea of going, underwater to do stuff just, kind of defies, comprehension. But in the course of the submarine history, we have lost over 20 submarines to accidents. Fortunately, none since 1968. And when I say fortunately, actually fortune had nothing to do with it. It's all been because of better training, better equipment, better processes, lots of things that were learned the hard way before. But most importantly, the people that we have in the submarine force today, and represented by Commander Chapman and Commander Lucas, the attention to detail that they have to have in order to operate in this inherently dangerous domain defies comprehension for most of us. So for the families to put up with what's necessary to excel and defend our country, it deserves the gratitude of all of us. The next group I want to thank is the crew of the Nautilus. There's some people who are outside this area who would look at this is skate shore duty. No, it's not. And you quickly find that when you're here, when you're responsible for 365 days a year, 24 hours, 7 degrees, 7 days, security and monitoring of this particular ship. But I also deeply appreciate those of the crew who have gotten engaged in the museum operations, interacting with the patrons, visitors of the museum, doing things in the archives, in the collections area. That is a huge help to the civilian museum staff that are completely outside your normal job description. And yet we find that those caliber of sailors who can serve in the nuclear submarine force, you can do pretty much anything. So again, we deeply appreciate the contribution that you make. I also want to thank the Submarine Force Library Museum and Submarine Museum Force and Library Association for the incredible support that they provide from the very beginning. I mean, the reason we have this museum is primarily to do their support, although also the Connecticut delegation back in the late 1970s convinced President Jimmy Carter that this submarine belonged here, and he signed that proclamation. So that's why the sub is here. But the Submarine Force Museum and Library Association has been a stalwart supporter of this museum all along and continues to be. It wouldn't be anywhere near what it is like it is today. When you go through the museum, you will note that it's very heavy on pre-World War II and pre-World War II, and probably less so on the Cold War and recent submarine operations. A lot of that has to do with classification of missions, but the major focus of the museum is to accurately honor and respect the service and sacrifice of those submariners who came before, many of which made the ultimate sacrifice. During World War II, we lost 52 submarines to all causes, 3,500 men who were lost with those submarines, 20% of the submarine force that operated in that war. On the other hand, they sank more Japanese ships than any other type of weapon system. Had more to do with the fall of Japan than any other weapon system, except maybe the atomic bomb, but absolutely critical. But you also go, well, why did we lose so many submarines during that war? And it's because then they had to come up for air. And sooner or later, somebody had to come up for air, and if the enemy had aircraft air superiority, which in many cases they did, there was great risk of that submarine being lost. This submarine changed all of that. Many people are familiar that this submarine was the first one to go under the North Pole. That was a big deal. But the real thing is that it doesn't need to surface for air. It can stay underwater for as long as you can pack it full of food in the submarine. So it not only revolutionized propulsion systems by nuclear power, it not only revolutionized submarine warfare, it revolutionized naval warfare. And the submarines, with this power plant and the follow-on power plants that served during the Cold War, a lot of that's classified, so you can't go into as much detail, but the submarine force played an immense role in bringing about the downfall of the Soviet Union. We forget the existential nature of that conflict, which fortunately didn't turn into a shooting war. But undersea domain, the only difference was whether they pulled the trigger or not. It was just like a war between submarines, and we held the advantage throughout that. And in the Soviets' attempt to assure the protection of their strategic missile submarines against our submarines turned out to be an impossible task. It wound up bankrupting their Navy and their military and played a major role in the whole country's economic house of cards going down. So submarine force, it matters. Those kinds of missions still continue today in different places that we can't get into. As a career intelligence officer, I'll just say I've benefited immensely by what the submarine force can do. And both Bryans here served on submarines that did those kinds of missions, and also those kinds of submarines that provided a strategic deterrent so that we did not have to face a nuclear war from the enemy. So in the case of Bryan Chapman, he's done an enormous job. Commodore Grogan, thank you for everything that you've done to help and your team has done to help this particular ship. And you covered it in great detail. When Bryan Chapman came aboard, here's a submarine that just been through a $46 million overhaul. It's good for another 35 years. And then within a few weeks, the ventilation system broke. So a lot has gone into fixing that issue. He's done a lot to integrate his crews with the museum staff. A lot of work with bringing this water taxi to fruition here, which I think is a huge benefit to the region. In fact, this whole thing is, I believe, the second or third largest tourist attraction in Connecticut. But Brian, we think you've done an immense job under very trying circumstances, and we deeply appreciate what you've done. Brian Lucas, same kind of career path before, attack submarines, ballistic missile submarines, arduous shore duty, even taking submarines into major overhauls, which is actually probably harder than going to sea. But incredible work. His last job was one in an airborne command post for potential nuclear warfare. Hopefully, gladly, he never had to do it. He may be one of the few submarine officers I know that's wearing an Air Force Aerial Achievement Medal. So he's got that going. So you think you're gonna step into this organization? We have every confidence that you're going to do and lead it superbly into the future. And congratulations to you for this assignment. So with that, we'll move on to the next part.
Now, I'm going to ask you guys to come up for the presentation of the award. Nautilus, attention to award. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Department of the Navy. This is to certify that the Secretary of the Navy has awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, Gold Star in lieu of Fifth Award, to Commander Bryan R. Chapman, United States Navy, for meritorious service while serving as the officer in charge of historic ship Nautilus from June 2023 to September 2025. Displaying exemplary leadership when faced with the loss of ventilation on board Nautilus due to corrosion of the underwater feed pipes, he directed action to preserve the ship, including rapidly developing and implementing a temporary solution and designing a permanent solution to ensure the availability of Nautilus to the American people for the next 50 years. Demonstrating ownership and organization as director of the Submarine Force Library and Museum, he oversaw the first wall-to-wall collection inventory in the history of the museum in order to shift the artifact collection to a new, state-of-the-art facility and preserve it for the future. By his distinctive accomplishments, unrelenting perseverance, and steadfast devotion to duty, Commander Chapman reflected credit upon himself and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service, given this 19th day of September 2025. Signed, D.W. Groton, Captain, United States Navy, Commander. Nautilus at ease. Guests, please be seated. Nautilus, be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Bryan Chapman, officer in charge of historic ship Nautilus and director of the Submarine Force Museum.
Guests, shipmates, friends, family, thank you for your attendance today. It's both an honorable and a humbling moment to stand before you as I prepare to pass charge of historic ship Nautilus to Lieutenant Commander Brian Lucas. This ceremony marks a transition, not just of leadership, but of stewardship over a vessel that holds a singular place in naval history and in the hearts of submariners the world over. Nautilus is more than steel, wood decking, and rivets. She's a living monument to innovation, courage, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. As the world's first nuclear-powered submarine, she shattered boundaries and redefined what was possible beneath the waves. To serve as her officer in charge has been one of the greatest privileges of my submarine career. I'd like to continue by expressing my deep gratitude to Naval History and Heritage Command. Your unwavering support and commitment to preserving our Navy's legacy has made it possible for Nautilus to continue inspiring many generations to come. Your partnership and stewardship has been instrumental in every success that we've achieved here. To our Navy leadership, Commodore Grogan, Captain Curtin, Commodore Rossler, and many, many more, thank you for entrusting me with this extraordinary responsibility. Your guidance and confidence have empowered me to lead with purpose and integrity. I've never taken that trust lightly. To the staff and crew of Nautilus and the Submarine Force Museum, you are the heartbeat of the mission. Your professionalism, dedication, and passion for for preserving the legacy of undersea warfare have been nothing short of inspiring. Whether it's maintaining the ship's watertight integrity, guiding visitors through historic compartments, or curating the museum's exhibits, you've shown what it means to serve with pride every day. You've made Nautilus not just a museum ship, but a living classroom and a sacred space for reflection. You've honored the memory of those who have served aboard her and ensured that her story continues to resonate with every visitor who walks her decks. For my family, especially my wife Renee and our small herd of 7 children, thank you for your patience, your sacrifices, your steadfast love. Yeah, I see you, Jake. You've been my anchor through these long hours, tough decisions, and the weight of command. I could not have done this without you. You guys have given me the strength to lead with the perspective to appreciate every moment of the journey, no matter what type of moment it is. Command is never about the individual, though. It's about the team, the mission, and the legacy that we uphold. Leading Nautilus has reminded me that history is not static. It lives in the stories we tell, the lessons we pass on, and the reverence we show for those who came before us. I've watched as veterans return to this ship with tears in their eyes, standing in the very spaces where they once served. I've seen young children marvel at the technology that changed the world, and I've witnessed our team rise to every challenge with grace and grit. These are the moments that will stay with me forever. Now it's time to pass charge to Commander Brian Lucas. Brian, you are more than ready for this role. Your leadership, your intellect, and your respect for the heritage of this ship make you the ideal successor. I have every confidence you will carry this torch with honor and continue to elevate the legacy of Nautilus. You're not just inheriting a command, you're inheriting a sacred trust, and I know you'll treat it with the reverence it deserves. As I step away from this role, I do so with immense pride and gratitude. I leave knowing that Nautilus is in good hands, and that her story will continue to be told with passion and precision. To all who have supported me, thank you. To all who continue to serve, keep pushing the boundaries. And to Nautilus herself, thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. Fair winds and following seas to everyone. Thank you. I will now read my orders.
Nautilus, attention to orders.
From the Chief of Naval Personnel, Buper's Order Number 1765. When directed by Reporting Senior, detached from duty as Officer in Charge of Historic Ship Nautilus, and report to the Naval Submarine School, Groton, Connecticut as the Executive Officer. Commander Lucas, I'm ready to be relieved.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Commander Brian Lucas, Prospective Officer in Charge of Historic Ship Nautilus.
I shall now read my orders. From the Chief of Naval Personnel, Buper's Order 1535. When directed by Reporting Senior, detached from STRATCOM Sea Duty Site, Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska, and report for duty as Officer in Charge of Historic Ship Nautilus. Commander Chapman, I am ready to relieve you.
Nautilus, at ease, take seats. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Commander Brian Lucas, Officer in Charge of the Historic Ship Nautilus and Director of the Submarine Force Museum.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, family, friends, and colleagues. It's an incredible honor standing here today taking charge of the Submarine Force Museum and Research Library and the world's first nuclear-powered vessel. Nautilus is more than a museum. She is a symbol of American ingenuity and an immersive classroom. This institution exists to preserve the legacy of the submarine force to honor those who serve beneath the sea, and to inspire future generations through education. I feel both excitement and humility stepping into that responsibility today. They say tradition holds that the relieving officer's comments are supposed to be shorter than the outgoing officer's comments. And I'm certainly not one to part with tradition. With that being said, I would be remiss if I didn't take a short moment to thank some key individuals who helped make this occasion and my journey here so meaningful. First, I'd like to thank Admiral Samuel Cox and Captain David Grogan for your thoughtful words today and for your leadership and support. Your presence here means a great deal to me and to this command. I'd also like to thank Commander Bryan Chapman for such a smooth and seamless turnover. Your professionalism and high standards made this transition an easy one, and I am truly grateful. I wish you fair winds and following seas in all your future endeavors. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to our guests in attendance, including members of the State of Connecticut leadership, Naval Reactors, the Naval History and Heritage Command, our local Navy partners at Naval Submarine Base New London, and the Naval Submarine Support Facility, as well as our community partners, the cities of Groton and New London, Electric Boat, the Submarine Force Library and Museum Association, the U.S. Submarine Veterans Incorporated, and the Nautilus Alumni Association. Your continued partnership makes it possible for this museum and this historic boat to thrive, ensuring that the story of the submarine force continues to reach future generations. To my family, thank you for being here. To my brother Jeff, my sister Katie, and especially my parents, Donna and Larry Lucas, thank you for instilling in me the values which have carried me through every step of the journey here. I owe so much to the strong example you set and the steady support you gave over the years. I can never thank you enough. Mom, these flowers are just a small way of showing how much your love and support means to me. To my wife's family and my wife's extended family, thank you for traveling to be here today and for the steady encouragement and support you've shown throughout my career. To my in-laws, Peter and Linda Narducci, thank you especially for your love and support over the years, especially every time I breezed through Groton for various submarine schools. I have always appreciated the home away from home that you continue to provide. Linda, please accept these flowers as a token of thanks for your love and generosity. Finally, to my wife, Amy. None of this journey would have been possible without you. You are the steady hand that has guided me, the strength behind every challenge met, and the reason I've been able to serve as I have. Your unwavering support and your tireless drive to keep our household running, now especially with our son Caden in full toddlerhood, mean more to me than I can ever express. These flowers can't match what you've sacrificed and given for me, but I hope they show even a fraction of my gratitude and love. To the active duty crew of the Nautilus, our professional civilian staff, and our world-class volunteers, you are the heart of this command. Your dedication and professionalism are what make this museum one of the most successful and respected institutions in the United States Navy. I look forward to serving alongside you, furthering the education of the storied past of the submarine force and sharing the excitement of its future. Together, we will continue to inspire future generations to join the Navy, to volunteer for the submarine service, and to carry forward the proud legacy of those who went before us. Thank you all for being here this afternoon, and thank you for your trust as I assume this great responsibility.
Nautilus, attention. Yes, please stand for the benediction and remain standing for the departure of the official party.
Would you pray with me? Gracious God, as we conclude this change of command ceremony for the historic ship Nautilus and the Submarine Force Library and Museum, we come before you with gratitude and hope. We thank you for the leadership of outgoing Commander Bryan Chapman, whose dedication has left a lasting legacy. May your peace and guidance accompany him in all his future paths. We lift up Lieutenant Commander Brian Lucas, as he steps into his new role as officer in charge and director. Grant him strength, wisdom, and discernment to lead with honor, preserving the proud history of the Nautilus and the submarine force for generations to come. Bless all who serve, support, and visit this historic ship and museum. May their efforts continue to inspire and educate, reflecting the courage and sacrifice of those who've gone before. Unite us in our shared mission and keep us steadfast in your care. We entrust this transition and all who are part of it to your loving hands, giving thanks for your unending grace. Amen.
Bosun, post the side boys.
Post the side boys back, Senior Chief. Side boy. Wait. Side boy. Forward.
Rear Admiral, United States Navy, departing. Naval Submarine Support Facility, departing. Commander, United States Navy, departing. Nautilus, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our change of charge ceremony. Please remain at your seats until the family members of the official party have departed. Commander Chapman and Commander Lucas cordially invite you to join them for a reception being held inside the Submarine Force Museum. The Nautilus and Submarine Force Museum are open for tours throughout the day. Bosun, dismiss the side boys.
Side boys back, Senior Chief. Side boys. All out.
Nautilus, carry out the plan of the day.